Let's take a look at this interview because this is just fabulous, and there's so many. There's so much we can glean from this. And it really, what I enjoy about this interview is it's almost a big pity party fest. Like, why are people not watching CNN? Why do they not like us?
Good. Okay, great. Do you want to talk about your special?
Sure.
Give me those short things.
It's a comedy special on Netflix, and I think it's the most important thing ever, and it will change the course of human history. So you should watch if you'd like to be a part of that. As we know,
I love how he's like already starting off with this sardonic look, like, sure. He's like cracking himself up. You can already tell. This is why I love the guy.
podcasters are like the most important people in the world. Actually, we didn't know that, but now I've realized it.
By the way, he's saying this because this is the entire reason why she has him on, because she's trying to make it out like this big deal. Like, remember in 2016 when everybody was a Nazi? Now the new thing is everybody's like, they're stealing our job. No, CNN, you suck. That's why nobody wants to watch you.
That we are the arbiters of all things, and comedians matter.
Yeah.
We thought we were just trying to get over stuff that our family did to us, but it's big news. So it's super important, and you should watch it with your whole family, and the course of history will change. There's a lot going on.
I've been researching comedy, essentially,
Okay.
the way comedy is now.
Yes.
Yeah, these people are, by the way, this broad is insufferable. She like whispers. It's almost like she's talking to a reader. It's almost, I get the feeling that it's like the reader was brought into the principal's office with their parents, and the principal's having to really talk in a very sensitive, politically correct way, but she still has the problem because the reader's been like bashing people over the head. So she's like, okay, this is a very sensitive topic. I don't really know how to deal with this, but I'm trying to get my point across. I've got my own agenda here. Okay, this tard needs to go somewhere else. He's not compatible with the school, but I don't want to get sued at the same time. This is the vibe of this. But actually worse than that, to be honest, because she's super condescending too. But it's like she's sitting down and she thinks Tim Dillon's an evil reader, right? That's another logical fallacy these people always do. It's like with Trump. Oh, he's an evil genius, but he's actually really dumb too. Okay, let's choose an insult, please.
So I've been talking to lots of people. Yeah. And one of the comedians that I interviewed said that he thought more people were looking to people like you for their news and opinion because the news got a little dumber and comedians got a little smarter. Tell me what you think about that. Like, why is...
And see, she's got a problem with this because she's like, we are the ones that have the good takes. We know how to present you to the truth. We'll decide what we're going to tell you, and we'll tell it to you as if you're a class of readers, okay? And it's a real problem when you guys start looking to other independent outlets because, you can get misinformation that way. These people just, they're not seeing it. Please, shut the fuck up.
Is this happening?
Well, I think that the news has said a variation of the same thing for a very long time, and I think people just tend to get bored.
Hi, this is Anthony Cumia.
Hello, I'm Gavin McInnes.
And together we're Compound Censored.
And we would like you to subscribe with this deal using this promo code right below me right now.
Do it, because it's very entertaining.
Right? I mean, you had institutions like this, you had institutions like Fox, and largely they fell on opposite sides of the same question. So I think just the idea that you have different emerging platforms and different voices, people are just, saying, all kinds of things. Some of them are crazy. Some of them are the most insane things you've ever heard. Some of them have value. Some of them don't. I think it's just a lot more interesting to people, especially people who grew up online or are younger people, seem to gravitate towards that kind of media more than the kind of fake, stilted corporate speak of kind of the traditional legacy media. But I don't know if it's that comedians have gotten smarter or media's gotten dumber. I think media's just kind of become predictable and boring, and the internet has kind of been an antidote to that.
I've heard...
By the way, nice outfit, annoying ass glasses. Your hair is weird. I hate this. I can't stand this. This is a communist, LARPing as though she's just like trying to understand. But this is the most pompous, insufferable imaginable. Like, I'm sure she's not married, definitely doesn't have kids, and there's no shocker there.
Comedy podcast referred to as a friendship simulator. What do you think about that?
This is a gay.
I think.
What do you think about that? Okay, I'm going to reel you in with some easy questions, and then we'll get to some hard questions. Skip on.
That is a question they're asking.
That is a question they're asking. So, I mean, I was interested in that. I did a lot of research, but I think that's maybe not the most interesting question. However, I think you have to admit, Joe Rogan has changed comedy.
Okay, by the way, she's also obsessed with Joe Rogan. She brings up Joe Rogan 90 times in this interview.
Cooking, whatever. So I think there's an intimacy to that other forms of media might lack.
So I'm sure you're aware of the where's the liberal Joe Rogan, that whole conversation.
Yes, that is a question.
Nobody cares about the what? I'm sure you're aware of this phenomenon that's going on where everybody's clamoring for a liberal Joe Rogan. Nobody wants that. There's a reason why Joe Rogan is famous, and it's because he's not liberal. At least not in their sense.
Question they're asking.
That is the question they're asking. So, I mean, I was interested in that. I did a lot of research, but I think that's maybe not the most interesting question. However, I think you have to admit.
You can see he's just running circles around her. This is awesome.
Joe Rogan has changed comedy.
I think Joe Rogan has changed media.
Can you explain how that works?
Well, Joe Rogan has this amazingly popular platform where he's led by his interests, meaning he's bringing on people that have these long-form conversations. In a world where everything's consumed in 30-second clips or 60-second clips and 15-second clips, Joe Rogan is having 3-hour discussions with people on anything from...
She keeps bringing up Joe Rogan because she's furious that Joe Rogan has brought a lot of young men to the right, because Joe is kind of... I personally am not the biggest fan of Joe Rogan, but it's undeniable that he has brought people, young men especially, further to the right. He will have people on, he'll have controversial people, not all of them, but he'll have some seemingly controversial people on. He seems to be kind of open to ideas, but he doesn't come across as a Tucker Carlson, a square conservative that scares off people. He casts a broad net, and he can catch kind of liberal-ish people and conservatives at the same time. And he's got a massive platform, and they're just mad about that. They don't like that his impact is making people move further to the right. That's what the whole crux of this is. And they don't like that he's their new competition, and that they're tanking, and he's doing great.
Conspiracy theories to science to, paleontology. He's all over the map, but he's led by his interests, and he's accountable to himself and his audience, right? I mean, he's kind of blazed this trail of I'm interested in certain things, and I'm going to talk about them with people who I find interesting. There's no real media that was structured like that ever, right? I mean, that's not how any of these companies were structured. It wasn't come on in, what are you guys interested in? Let's talk about it. It was kind of these are the stories, and here's how we're going to cover them, and here's the angles. So I think the entire structure of what Rogan has done has changed everything, because it's opened up this idea that you could do that. You could pursue a strategy of talking to people that you find interesting, and then growing a tremendously successful platform out of that.
Rogan moved to Austin, opened a comedy club there, and now all these comedians have moved to Austin to be part of that world.
Yeah.
How does that work? What is that like?
I think it's like any...
This is a stupid question. She's just trying to prove... I don't even know what. She's trying to even though it's organic, the fact that people are moving farther to the right, these people refuse to believe that it's organic. They refuse to believe that it's anything other than a plot. It's all a plot.
Type of clubhouse that you have, right? So you have all of these different great clubs, and you have a Comedy Cellar in New York and Comedy Store in LA. And, he's opened a great comedy club in Austin where we have a lot of people go there to perform, and there's a lot of comedy fans that go. So he's cultivated a lot of people that want to come, and he's made it kind of a destination for people that want to see comedy.
Is it a particular kind of comedy?
See, there you go. First of all, it's actually rude to have somebody on your show and talk about somebody else. Like, well, we couldn't get Joe Rogan on, so you were like second best and you know Joe. So we're just going to basically try to get an interview with Joe, but it's not Joe. We'll just talk about him. So that in and of itself, I find to be very rude and kind of insulting to your guest. It's like if I had somebody on that was friends with, I don't know, Trump. Or that's actually a bad example. Somebody less famous. Maybe say I had somebody on who was friends with Candace Owens. And I'm like, I want to get Candace Owens on the show, but I can't get her on the show. She's too big of a get. So I'm going to have somebody who is pretty famous too, but I'm going to have them on, somebody who's friends with her, and I'll just talk about Candace Owens the whole time. Like, how insulting to your guest. But the whole point is she's trying to make it like, this is like a conspiracy and you guys are taking over and you're, at the end of the day, it's misguiding people because now people are not listening to us and they're listening to you. Why are they listening to you and not us? We're CNN.
I think in some cases, yes.
Like, is
right?
it anti-woke or?
I think you're far less likely to find that type. Like the word woke is kind of a boring word, but like, I think you're absolutely more likely to find the type of comedy that Joe likes at his comedy club, which is like kind of edgy, no holds barred in the sense that like, they're not policing, anybody can say anything as long as there's a good faith effort to make it funny. Mm-hmm. So I think that there are people that believe, and they're well within their rights to believe this, that there are topics and words that are off limits. And I don't think...
Doesn't this also feel like an interrogation too? Like, it's an interrogation and this is like good cop, in quotations.
Joe feels that way. I think he feels that like the people that come into the club, if they have a good faith effort to make a topic funny or an idea funny, that they should be allowed the space to do that. And there are people that disagree with him on that. And there are places that you're far less likely to see certain topics talked about in a funny way because people just don't, they believe that they're off the table.
And like, what's your relationship with Rogan? Like, you've been on his show.
He's my father.
Literally. What was I literally just saying?
Well, you've been on his show.
We've never talked about it, and it's because I'm overweight. And he will not admit it.
He's
but
really
he is my father. No, I've been on his show multiple. He's a great friend. I respect him, and he's been very nice and generous to me.
How does going on his show affect your career?
People,
You see all these points? You see all this? She's got like some point that she's trying to drive. She's really trying to drive home this agenda that like Joe is like the puppet master, and whatever Joe says, Joe gets, And like, I don't know what's her next angle, that Joe's funded by Qatar. I'm sure that'll be the next angle, or Russia. So how does this benefit you? And is this why people are being more right wing, because they want to get in with Joe's good graces? Because Joe, not the Jays, control America. Is that this is what she's angling for? And it's so retarded.
There's his audience. He's got a massive audience. He allows you to come on and say what you want and be funny and be interesting or whatever you're going to be. And he shares his audience. It's a very generous thing to do. And there's not a...
Also, another insulting question. Oh, I'm sure knowing Joe's really helped your career. It's not like you've built anything on your own. You're a nobody, but you were on Joe. So now you've got some notoriety.
A lot of people who do that, by the way. There's not
Tell me more about that.
Well, there's just not tons of people at his...
Tell me more. Tell me more. This is like some sneak. By the way, if a cop ever comes up to your house and they are addressing you in this tone, this is even more, should be terrify you even more than aggressive ass cop, because this is the kind of person that it will use literally every syllable against you.
Level that give opportunities to people the way he does.
Yeah.
There are some.
But does a young comedian have to shape his act to try to
not at all? Joe Rogan's one.
This is literally exactly what I was saying. So we have young people coming up, and because they want to get in with Joe's good graces, they don't even... These comedians, this whole movement of, this whole wave of red, this whole generational move to the right, this isn't organic. Nobody believes any of this. They're just saying it because Joe's saying it, and that's the popular thing to say now. They don't actually believe it, right? This whole move away from the left, it's not real, right? It's not real. Tell me it's not real. No, they're just doing it because Joe Rogan's doing it. Like, what a premise.
It's a very big podcast, but it's one podcast in a world of podcasts, in a world of social media apps. There are comedians that have blown up on TikTok who are selling out theaters. That why would they need to shape their act? Me, I would never shape anything. Me and Joe like see a lot of things in a similar way. Even though we're very different on paper, we see a lot of things in a similar way. So I didn't have to shape it. I don't think people go in there shaping. It would be probably quite obvious if they did.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I know you're lying. And I'll get it out of you eventually. I hate this. Now I'm whispering. This.
Hours is a long time with someone. So if you're completely full of...
Did you see that look? Yeah. I know you're lying. I'll get it out of you eventually.
SHIT?
Yeah.
It might be apparent.
But do you ever look at some comedians who's doing a joke like, DE, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And you're like, that
I've never heard DE, I don't think so.
I made that up.
Okay, I've never heard
I
that
tried
one.
to do the shortest.
By the way, there is definitely someone doing that.
That's what I mean.
There's definitely someone doing that. Yeah, that would be not a...
Even that is indicative that the culture is moving that way, okay? If comedians and people are now shaping their act to their audience, that's just more of a W. You're just digging yourself deeper into the hole that this is an organic movement. If that's what people want, then that means people have moved away from CNN. Like, what a loser. God, she's...
I know,
That's not a great joke.
All right, let me give you an example.
Okay.
And I won't name the person.
Okay.
But there's a comedian who lives near me.
Okay.
And
Oh my God.
he has this joke about how he walks all around New York and he sees all these flags from all these different countries, but he never sees the American flag.
Yeah.
Well, we live near each other, and I know he's talking about this little Caribbean grocery store that's got little plastic stream.
Oh, and she's so offended by that. Do you need to get a restraining order out against him? I know you probably feel safe with this right-wing nut living close in your same vicinity. What, are you planning on doxing him as well? Why do you even know where he lives? That's actually crazy. Do you have his docs? Are you waiting? I have your docs. You better stop talking about this flood of immigration or I will dox you. Like, this is actually an evil, okay? These are the you have to look out for. The ones that come off as so kind and empathetic and sweet, but it's a fake. It's phony, okay? This is looking death in the face if you're on a date with a broad like this. This woman will ruin your life. Take it from me. Take it to the bank. I'm a woman. I know women. Believe me, this woman will ruin your life. This is run. If you see somebody acting like this, you're actually better off with somebody who comes across a little bit busy, because either they're a total and then you kind of knew what you were getting into, or they're actually pretty nice once you get to know them, you know? Same with guys. Guys who come off across as dicks, sometimes they're just dicks, but sometimes they're actually the best kind of people out there, right? It's always these people who have this fake facade of kindness, because it's like, why are you trying to convince me that I'm trustworthy and I'm nice and I'm sweet? You know? Just don't. This woman is evil. She's evil.
More of Caribbean flags, and I'm like, it's
by the way, what's wrong with a joke like that? We do live in America, by the way. Are people not allowed to be, question, why do I not see American flags anymore? Why do I see flags from other countries all the time? So the fact that that's her beef is crazy. It's like, then in what country would you like to live in, ma'am? Because you clearly hate America.
Feels a little phony to me. And I'm like,
that's pretty rich, talking about phonies coming from you.
It feels like he's like trying to appeal to a certain audience. I'm not accusing.
No, that's actually what people believe. Okay? That's what people believe. And by the way, it's irrelevant whether one comedian is playing to their audience. The fact that the audience wants that, the fact that the audience is primed for that, you're cooked, okay? If you got people now having to play right wing to appease the masses, then that means CNN is cooked.
You of that, by the
way. No, I mean, I've never been to that
analysis.
Caribbean grocery store. I don't live in your neighborhood. do I think people exaggerate things for the benefit of comedy? Probably all the time.
But like, are they pitching themselves to like a Fox audience? Like
I
comedians?
mean,
Oh my God. Okay. The obsession with Rogan and Fox, as if people don't watch Fox News, actually. It's old boomers that watch Fox News. I don't know a single, I don't think I've ever watched a full Fox News segment in my life. I don't know anyone else who does either. And I'm more interested in politics than your average Joe. People, this whole idea, these people, this just goes to show this is why you're failing, because you don't know. And furthermore, you don't care what your audience, who they are, what they watch, what they believe in. You don't know anything. All you know is you're better. They all suck. They're all swine and cattle. And for as much as you want to talk about your research, you clearly don't know what people want.
I couldn't know that, but does everyone's pitching themselves to somebody? So when I hear a comedian do something like that, or I hear a comedian talk about how terrible it was that they went home and their parents were like the most racist people ever and they were so out of touch and whatever, and it's usually like, my parents are trying to be liberal but they're not, and here's why they're evil, and you're like, okay. It usually feels like it's something that's been wildly blown out of proportion, because that's most of comedy, right? It's like taking something and then extrapolating something from it. I mean, I don't know that particular joke, but like, it just feels like the basis of a lot of jokes is like, let's blow something up beyond the scope of its actual meaning to make it kind of goofy or make it symbolic of something else. So I think a lot of people do that in comedy. They just find—
I love, by the way, that Tim has like turned this around on her. She's talking down to him. She's talking in this very patronizing way. Worse than patronizing. It's like literally as if she thinks she's speaking to a right now, or a dangerous animal. She has to just tiptoe around because he could explode at any time. But he ends up talking to her like she's a he's having to explain like how comedy works, even though she's supposedly the expert on it.
find something that's symbolic of something else they want to talk about.
But like when you must like to talk. I mean, I talk within my industry.
Of course.
Do you ever see other comedians
and think they're not good? Yes,
but like
we all do.
Like going for this like overt political
all
content.
over. Yes,
she's just so pressed. This bitch is just furious that people aren't watching her. I wonder how many views this video even has. Let's just take a look. This is from CNN. Okay, this has got pretty good views, but by the way, only because Tim Dillon's there. Only because Tim Dillon's there. I mean, look, first comment. This is the first time I've ever clicked on a CNN video. CNN interviewing Tim Dillon like he's the vice president to the Joe Rogan Experience. Exactly. So this is not just me. This is what everybody's consensus on this is. So the only reason, by the way, that this video blew up was because Tim Dillon is on it. That's it.
On the right and the left. Absolutely.
That's what they're furious about. That's why they brought him on, because they were like, okay, views are down. We got to get somebody that people like. And now she's just picking their brain. This is basically her asking every question except the one that she wants to ask of, why do people listen to you and not me? I'm the professional here. I'm the woke one. I'm the person with all the right opinions. I went to a woke liberal college. Why aren't you listening to me? Why are you listening to you? Why aren't these people listening to you guys? What's your secret? Must be foreign money.
But there's comedians that are doing that from... It's not just people that are appealing to the right or to the left. It's people that are appealing to, like, there's the mom comedian that every joke's I'm a mom. Every joke is that I'm this or I'm that. Sometimes every joke is about...
Yeah, because liberals don't make all of their comedy about some liberal cause. Yeah, because people slightly left of center don't make everything about, some cause or LGBTQ. She's acting like the only comedians in the world who who integrate politics into their act are right-wingers. Oh, because left-wingers never do that. Your comedy specials are nothing but either a political endorsement or some sort of a political agenda and statement. That's literally it.
I don't know, being a twin or something. I don't know, like, there's always an annoying version of that where you go, oh, so everything you think about is filtered through this lens?
Okay.
That's annoying. I think across the board. Okay. Yes, are there people that we hear? and we go, oh, that's annoying with the right wing stuff. Absolutely, and with the left wing stuff, and with the my kids, no one, whatever it is. It's like, or the Italian stuff. Do you know how much is going on right now? Like this Italian nostalgia? It's disgusting. All my friends are Italian. We all grew up with chicken parmesan. We all know what it is. Enough already. It's cool.
By the way, he's doing them such a real one. He could stick to just giving plain, boring answers, but he's bored now, so he's wanting to put in a little humor in here, and that's what's helping them, actually. I wish he would have been boring, so they would have gotten no views.
Crazy. I hate as you see this on the internet. People act like a meatball's like a new thing. No one talks like that. Forget about it. No one does this and hasn't for decades. So yes, it's all horrible and bad. The culture's a mess. Of course. And everybody's just trying to grab on to whatever money they can before we all, float off into oblivion and become robots. But yes, are some of them annoyingly right-wing? I suppose.
Okay, just something else related to that. So one comedian who was like kind of in that world,
yes.
Fox, etc.
Yeah.
No Fox. No, nobody actually watches Fox. Sorry, by the way, I've got a cold, so I will be hacking.
That I tried to interview. His manager told me that he wouldn't do an interview with me because Rogan would get mad at him for talking to CNN. And
that's untrue. That's completely insane.
Okay.
That's completely insane.
Okay.
That is.
I really liked him that he called her on this bullshit. That's bullshit. She's just lying. Oh, see, they have this because I can't get guests. It's their fault. It's actually Rogan's fault. No, because you have a history of ambushing people. And I kind of understand it now too, because I always used to think, oh man, even if you get ambushed, why not just go on? But now that I get asked on things, I really vet shows before I go on, because it's, for what it gives you, it doesn't benefit you at all. You don't get paid to do these things. You get nothing out of it. I mean, you may get a little exposure, but who gives a But you have so little time in the day that taking the time out of your day, getting ready, it's always stressful to do these things. I don't care how much of a professional you are. You will always be stressed to a certain extent. So it's just not worth it anymore. It's not worth it to go on things. You get to where you're like, I don't want to go on anybody's show. I don't want to talk to anybody, let alone somebody who's going to be hostile, let alone somebody who's going to be ambushing me, or in this case, interrogating me and being rude. So that's why you can't get guests, you freak, because you have a history of ambushing people, lying about people like you're literally doing in this sentence, and the rest. People don't have time for that. They don't want a favor. By the way, and also your show sucks. It's not even like a big deal to get asked on CNN, It's a bigger deal, frankly, to be asked on one of these big podcasts than it is to be asked on one of these programs where you're just going to get berated the whole time and yelled at and silenced and talked over.
Completely nuts. He was afraid of you.
Oh, okay.
He thought you were going to come in and really rough him up or something. There's no such thing as Rogan would be mad at someone for talking. That's crazy.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Okay.
No.
Good. I'll let him know.
You think that's how it works? Rogan sends emails. I know you don't. That, but that's a crazy thing. Like Rogan's like, "What are you doing? Oh, you're doing this? No, do Gutfeld instead." No.
See the narrative she's trying to spin, and what a narrative too.
No one cares.
I mean,
no one cares what anyone does, and the idea. I think people think life's very interesting. We see this with the QAnon people,
right?
Where they're like, there's tunnels, and you go, it's really just rich people.
Okay.
And you go, well.
Okay, let's stay on topic. I know you're getting distracted. It's fine. I know. Let's calm down. Let's center ourselves and focus on what we're doing here. Okay, literally what she's doing with him.
They're doing all these terrible things. You go, absolutely. But they always have. And a lot of them always probably will if they can get away with it. But the levels of intrigue that people build around these things, I don't find that they're not that super interesting. Yeah.
Basically, he's telling her you're a f***ing idiot for thinking it's any deeper than the fact that you're boring and no one wants to be on your show because they know you're going to ambush them and try to paint them in the worst light possible and selectively edit the clips.
I just want to be clear though, this didn't come from like a commenter.
If he canceled my appearance because of this. I can't imagine any manager saying that. I mean, that's.
Oh no, the manager I spoke to directly.
No,
I don't believe you. You've been calling people who are not even racist Nazis for years. I actually don't believe you. You gotta start calling people on their bullshit. It's the same as when people will talk about, like blacks love to do this. They're like, I get called all the time, every day. I'm racially attacked. And I'm like, bullshit. I don't believe you. I really don't believe you. Then why are you freaking out about this person that's saying it, since you hear that you all the time? Bullshit. These people just lie when they have nothing else. They just make up a story of them being raped or them being the victim of a hate crime. I don't believe anybody at this point. Honestly, I really don't. You just have to say, wrong, you're lying. Next question.
I believe that they did. It's just such a funny and ridiculous thing to me.
All right, well, that's good to know. Do you think Rogan would talk to me?
Now she's trying to ask him, hey, do you think you could get Rogan to come on my show? This is about the most pathetic thing. What a W for us, though. The fact that CNN is begging podcasters to help them get guests on is awesome. That means we're really winning.
I don't know. I mean, he's a big get.
I know.
He's a big get.
Important.
So, I mean, you could try.
Even that question is so insulting to Tim Dillon. Like, I feel bad for Tim Dillon. She's basically being like, well, you're a nobody. Do you think you could get your friend? It's literally like a guy who goes up to the less attractive friend and says, hey, how are you doing? Is kind of hitting on her to get in her good graces, and like, yeah, can I have your friend's number? It's that level of insulting. That's exactly what is going on here.
So if you enjoyed that clip,
then subscribe to Compound Censored using this promo code.